Alright, hey, what's going on everybody? Matt Newport from the Deer Creek Cartel here again, doing another Garmin tips segment. On this episode, we just recently went down to the Winter Classic and one of our good buddies lost one of his dogs while we were down there. Well, we're 8-10 hours away from home and you lose your dog. That's the last thing that you want to do. So I'm going to give you guys some tips on Garmin's, on whenever you lose communication with your dog, and some other things to look for so you don't lose communications with your dog. Alright, first and foremost, if you are not running a collar on your dog, just a regular old dog collar with your name and phone number on it, you need to be doing that. I don't know how many of you guys have lost dogs before, but I've lost dogs quite a few times, and every time that I've lost a dog, that dog has ended up at somebody's house, and because of this right here, having your name and everything on it, that homeowner called and I was able to go retrieve my dog. So number one, make sure that happens anytime that you turn a dog loose. Alright, the next thing that I want to talk about physically is your tracking collar itself. So this is just a normal old T5. Every single one of these collars has, unless you're hunting an old DC-40, but every one of them has this black that comes down right here on both sides. It goes up to your GPS antenna and your telemetry antenna right here. Now, what you want to make sure that you look for every time that you take your collar and put it on your dog, you want to make sure that down inside here, there's not any frays or anything like that going up to your GPS antenna. And you also want to pay attention to your radio frequency on the antenna. You want to make sure that there's no breaks in it. Something else that I like to do, and I can do a video on this later on if you guys want, but down inside in here where your actual antenna connects, every now and then, probably every 6 months or so, I take these screws out right here and I take that antenna off and I clean up those contact points right there, because we all know your dogs, they go through water, they go through mud, they dig in holes, everything else, and inside there gets sand and water and stuff. I know it says it's waterproof, but it still gets in there some, so you want to make sure you get in there and clean that out. I put a little electric contact cleaner in there and then some dielectric grease on that whenever I take them apart. Alright, so now moving on to the actual handheld itself. So whenever you're tracking your dog and everything and they get far enough away that the question mark comes on or whatever, or something happens. So what happened with my buddy Jason's dog, the actual GPS antenna part on his collar itself frayed like while it was on the dog. So right in that little corner, like what I was talking about, the collar actually frayed a little bit. So like I said, you want to make sure that you look for that, but there's some other things that can help you too whenever you're looking for that dog after you lose communication with it. So first and foremost, something that I always do, this right here is your stock antenna. I always make sure that I have in my truck one of these. It's one of those extendable antennas. You can pick them up at hunts pretty cheap. I know a lot of suppliers have them. I know Tater's Hunting Supply, they have them. If you guys want to go check that out with them. But this is just a little bit of insurance for if you lose that dog and say you're at a competition hunt and you go out of state somewhere and you can't find that dog or whatever, you're far away from home, you're not going to want to drive all the way back there and look for that dog or stay there all night or whatever. So if you have this, you might be able to put that on your transmit, on your handheld, and be able to pick up that dog. So like I said, make sure that you keep one of these in your truck. I got 2 of these. I leave one in my dog box, and I got a bag that I take with me hunting. I leave it in there all the time. But moving on to the handheld. So whenever you get in there, so you got your dogs and everything. So say we're going to click on this collar that I have up right now. When you get on there and look at it, you have down in the bottom, you have your battery signal, your GPS signal, and your comm signal. So what you're going to look for is to see how good the signal strength is on those. That comm signal, that'll pick up a lot farther than what the GPS signal will pick up from what I've found. So if you use your long range antenna, you put your long range antenna on here, and you can pick up that comm signal, then you know the dog is still somewhere where you can pick them up. Then maybe you can go drive around and see if you can pick them up somewhere else. But biggest thing that I've found with that is if you can't pick them up on this, use that long range antenna, stick that thing on there and see if you can pick them up again. So that's your Garmin tips from the Deer Creek Cartel this week, and we'll see you in the woods.